for the 20th of November 2019, Wednesday, the middle of the week. And we begin with a bout of dollar strength during the Asian and European time zones, although it's a little hard to pinpoint why exactly. Maybe the continued nervousness over a US-China trade deal has traders favoring the dollar, except against the yen. Euro dollar dips down to 110.53, sterling against the dollar down to 128.88, and we have Aussie down to 68 figure. Meanwhile, dollar CAD, which I alluded to in yesterday's technical piece, breaks resistance at 132.80 and spikes initially as high as 133.15. As mentioned, the exception would be dollar yen, which fell to 108.35 as the yen crosses were sold on the back of generally negative risk sentiment. At the beginning of the day, stocks in Asia all closed lower, with the ASX 200 in Australia leading the way down 1.35%, and shares in Europe followed suit, with the UK's FTSE down by 1% prior to the US Open. So what would the US day hold? Once again, Trump impeachment proceedings remain top of most traders' to-watch list, although ultimately the effect on the market would be negligible. US equity futures have been under pressure, but stabilized after better than expected results from both retailers Target and Lowe's. Canadian CPI data posted very much as expected, but was enough just to get dollar CAD heading back towards what has now become support at 132.80. As US equities opened, we get a rather sudden reversal of the overnight moves in FX. Equities themselves didn't appear to be the catalyst, as the Dow opened down about 60 points or so. So maybe this was a bit of a square up ahead of the FOMC minutes to be released later in the day. We have euro dollar jumping back to 110.80, sterling up to 129.20, and dollar yen all the way back up to 108.73. So all quiet up to the FOMC minutes. Well, it should have been, but CNBC announced a report that suggests there will be no phase one trade deal between the US and China in 2019. This immediately prompts a drop in equities, with the Dow Jones dropping over to be down over 200 points. This takes dollar yen down to 108.40. We have dollar CAD up to 133.27, and the Australian dollar down to 6.6792 against the US. It seems like we get a report or a headline almost every day, one way or another, about this trade deal, and the market really is chopping itself up, reacting to each headline. I don't know who writes these reports or where these things come from, but the market is definitely getting a little bit ahead of itself, reacting so quickly to each headline. Anyway, the FOMC minutes come and go. Nothing we didn't really already know, and they gave the overall impression that the recent rate cuts should be enough to support the outlook of moderate growth, which is pretty much what we would have expected. Equities have a little bit of a bounce, with the Dow Jones only down 150 points by mid-afternoon in the US, and Aussie, Kiwi and CAD all strengthen a little, as dollar yen trades back above 108.60. And by the time the bell rings on Wall Street, the Dow Jones has cut its loss on the day almost in half, closing down only just shy of 114 points. And the FX markets all have fairly familiar levels around them, with euro ending the day at 110.72, dollar yen at 108.60, and cable at 129.20. Gold ends the day at 14.73. Today, I thought I'd turn my attention just back to euro dollar, really just to highlight how well it has been trading technically. It's certainly not been the most volatile of currency pairs over the past week or so, or we could argue even over the past 9 months or so. But technically, it has traded pretty well. And if you look at the the chart here, this hourly chart I have, you've seen this one before, but we've got the support level here, which really is strong support between 109.90 and 110 figure, which we saw held pretty very well last week, despite a fairly sustained attempt to push through. And then we bounced back up, and we hit this initial resistance at 110.55, which capped initially and then finally broke through, and then sort of acted as support. Yes, we've had a couple of tiny tails that have just snuck below it, including today, but it's certainly held pretty well. And then we have this next level of resistance here, 110.92-ish, one attempt thus far since we broke above 110.55 to go above it, and failed, and here we close, well, right smack bang between the two lines, really. So, it is trading pretty well between, technically between the different lines of support and resistance which we have in place. Doesn't necessarily make for the most exciting trading, but if you are a technical trader, it's certainly giving you some good indication of entry and exit levels when trading. Tomorrow we do have some data, the ECB meeting minutes, much the same as the FOMC meeting minutes we had today. We have those coming out on Friday morning at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time in the US, which might give us some fresh direction for Euro. But again, these meeting minutes often really just confirm what we got at the actual meeting itself. So we will wait and see. And with that, I wish you all the very best of luck, and look forward to speaking with you tomorrow. Cheers.